Please sit.
תוצאות ההצבעה, ממשלת חילופין, 60 בעד,
60 in favor, 59 against.
תודה, חברים.
Thank you.
אני מבקש.
Thank you.
אני מבקש, חברים. חברים, בבקשה.
Please.
חברים. חברים, בבקשה לשבת.
Please sit down. Please keep your restraint. I'm asking members of Knesset and future ministers, I understand your joy. Please exercise restraint and sit down. One abstention. I determine that the Knesset has expressed confidence in the replacement government.
תכף נעשה, הם ירצו אולי לצאת, עוד 5 דקות.
Watching breaking news here in Israel, an historic day in the country. Benjamin Netanyahu's 12-year run as Prime Minister coming to an end, a new leadership taking the helm at this moment. The Israeli parliament has just wrapped up its vote. Let's go live for the breaking news to our Kalev Ben David. What is this historic decision? Break it down for us, Kalev. What's going on?
Well, first of all, we have to say this was a nail-biter of a vote at the end of the day. We thought it might be 61-59, but there was one abstention, but also on the side of the joint list, Arab list. So it seems that the Arab members of Knesset, outside of Ram, of course, the big news was an abstention by one member of the coalition, Saeed al-Harumi, and there'll be political consequences of that. But there was also an abstention from the joint Arab list, and that gave the victory to the incoming government, the government of Naftali Bennett, decided by a vote, really, from the joint Arab list. Unprecedented. Eli Hochenberg, our diplomatic correspondent. This vote was a nail-biter, unprecedented.
Right, and definitely an indication to the many challenges ahead of this coalition. Quite impossible to push legislative motions forward with such a thin majority. But Naftali Bennett, Israel's 13th Prime Minister, it was not an easy battle whatsoever to make sure that every single member will vote according to the desire of this coalition. Moments from now, Bennett will take his oath and officially become Israel's Prime Minister. Wow, what can I say? Definitely a historic moment, Kalev, no doubt about that. We're seeing Likud Party lawmakers slowly but surely leaving the plenum, sealed faces.
Perhaps a little disbelieving, but Jeremy Salton from the Amina Party, you once said we'll see pigs fly.
Far from a sealed face.
There's a happy face. Congratulations, Naftali Bennett, your party leader, is the Prime Minister. But this vote did not go the way people necessarily expected. And as Eli said, the fact that one member of your party voted against it.
Not my party.
Well, Yamina, he's still for the moment officially.
For now.
And another member of the coalition from the Ram Party abstained. And the vote was really saved by an abstention from the joint Arab list.
Look, what matters in all sports, you know I'm a big sports fan, is who wins. And the victory is Naftali Bennett's and, of course, the Israeli people. This is a holiday. We can finally say, after 4 elections and a razor-thin majority, you're right, preventing us from a 5th election, thank God we have a government. So, yes, I am very happy. There are a lot of people who are very happy. I know Likud is not so happy right now. It would have been nice if they would have been a little bit more graceful in the, discussions that we had today. But what matters now is that we can turn the page and start Israel's new chapter. We can heal the wounds of everything that has been in terms of the negativity. And this is a new chapter for the state of Israel.
All right, there you have it, Benita. Prime Minister Naftali Bennett by the narrowest of margins, and Benjamin Netanyahu is now out of office.
Kalev Ben David, live from Jerusalem. Thank you so much for all those details on that breaking news. We'll be coming back to you later on in our broadcast. If you're just joining us now, it's breaking news. The Israeli parliament has approved the new coalition, 60 votes to 59. That's the majority for the change bloc. A victory, as we just heard there, for Naftali Bennett, who will be the next prime minister after Benjamin Netanyahu was at the helm for 12 years. A razor-thin majority indeed, but a victory is a victory. And if you're looking on your screens right now, Benjamin Netanyahu wearing a mask. You can't see his expression on his face, but he is sitting in the opposition seat, a seat he hasn't had to be in for a very long time. For more insight, in studio still Dr. Emmanuel Navon and Mark Schulman. So let's go live to find out exactly what's happening, and then we'll get your thoughts.
I
would like to invite the ministers in alphabetical order to come and swear allegiance. Every person whose name I recite shall recite the oath of allegiance and sign it in front of the Secretary of the Knesset. First, the Prime Minister of Israel, member of Knesset, Naftali Bennett. Please avoid clapping. It is not accepted in the plenary. I, Naftali Bennett, son of Jim Yaakov of blessed memory, and Mirna Leah, may she have a long life, commit as the Prime Minister and as the future alternate Prime Minister to maintain allegiance to the State of Israel and to its laws, to faithfully fulfill my role as Prime Minister and as the alternate Prime Minister, and to fulfill the decisions of the Knesset.
תודה רבה, בהצלחה. לא למחוא כפיים, תודה. אחריו יעלה ויבוא
After him, the alternate Prime Minister, member of Knesset, Yair Lapid. Please, no applause. I, Yair Lapid, son of Yosef Tommy of blessed memory, and Shulamit Lapid, may she have a long life, a very long life. Commit as the alternate Prime Minister and future Prime Minister to maintain allegiance to the State of Israel and its laws, to faithfully fulfill my role as the alternate Prime Minister and as the future Prime Minister, to fulfill the decisions of the Knesset. Friends, thank you. Restraint. Good luck. I'll recite the names in alphabetical order for the future ministers. Will come up in the order that I say. Member of Knesset, Karine El-Harar, please.
You are watching live images out of the Israeli parliament. History is unfolding in front of your eyes. It's a new era in the political landscape in Israel. And I couldn't help but notice, Mark Schulman, you looked a little bit emotional as we saw the next Prime Minister of Israel, Naftali Bennett, being sworn in just minutes ago.
Absolutely. I mean, Naftali Bennett is not my candidate. But the idea that we're finally having a new government after all these attempts, how many times have I sat in this same place and talked about the election and who's going to win and all the expectations, and every time we ended up in Nowheresville. once again. So the fact that we have a new prime minister, a new government, and the government of change, a government that I think can accomplish a lot, much more than other people. I'm optimistic about that. So to me, it's a very big moment, an important moment, a moment that I wasn't sure we were going to see anytime soon. It was getting hard to believe that the magician, as many people call Prime Minister Netanyahu, or former Prime Minister Netanyahu, had run out of tricks. And for the last 2 weeks, we've all been waiting for that trick to come about that would stop it. And in reality, it wasn't as close as it seemed, because as we saw, both Ahmed Tibi and Ayman Odeh didn't vote the first round, and they waited to make sure the government had a majority before they voted against. They didn't want to vote in favor of it, but they stayed out because they were not going to allow Netanyahu to remain as prime minister. So if it came down to it, they would have even voted in favor to make sure that Netanyahu didn't. So it wasn't quite as close as we think it was, but it was still too close.